Well, we are in the end game now. Shrouded Fable officially sold out on the Pokemon Center, the PC ETBs. There's not really much available on the Pokemon Center. As of now, it's pretty slim pickings. We're going to talk about all of that in this video. But as you can see, finally out of stock. And we lost the stock tracker. We were able to track stock. There was a certain way. Some Discord servers were able, like PokeNotify, to track the stock quantity of some of the products on Pokemon Center, but when they changed some stuff, we haven't been able to have that back, so we didn't know when this was going to happen. Last I saw, this was over 20,000 PC ETBs on Pokemon Center, and then finally just one day, whoop, we're just gone, out of stock. They did have a purchase limit of 4, so you were able to get sealed cases of Shrouded Fable. Now, if you want to look at the Pokemon Center, we clicked over here, showing what's in stock, sorting by price high to low. So we're going to see booster boxes first. The only booster boxes available: Stellar Crown, Temporal Forces, Battle Styles. Then we're in Building Battles. You got Brilliant Stars Building Battles. You got Building Battle. You got, there's no ETBs of any kind. And then you're in booster bundles, the lesser building battles. These are the stadiums, and then you're in 3-pack blisters and tins, and that's all they have on the official Pokemon Center website. It does kind of feel like we're in the end times here. Kind of starting to look like their website's starting to look like my local Walmart and Target. Not quite, because mine has like nothing on the shelves at all. But you get what I'm saying. The comparison here. This is the company that makes the stuff. You'd think they would have more listed on their website. So yeah, it's getting slim here. 3 booster boxes, no ETBs available. What this has done is shoot up the PC ETBs a little bit already. This just happened recently, and we're probably going to continue to see these to run. And if you want to talk about Shrouded Fable, this is what I've said. I never said it was going to be the top tier best investment of the era. I literally just posed it as a question of, in an extreme bull market, in a popular era, with Pokemon, the most popular franchise of anything all time ever, what's the worst investment, right? How good does the worst investment do? Because if you take the sealed route, give it enough time, and obviously things are amplified currently because of where we're at, right? The bull market, everything's crazy. You got people lining up hours and hours in advance to get the drops of the new sets outside of GameStops while it's raining. We saw that recently for the Prismatic Tin Restock Day. And so that was the question I posed, and then kind of form your own opinion off of that. So yeah, but we're already seeing it start to rise. You can see the most recent sale right here in the $90 range, another one back here. Before that, it was shooting up a little into the 80s and 70s, but lowest listed is where you're going to see, creeping up on $100, right? The stamped promo, it does, people like the limited availability of the stamped, whether they like the Pokemon on the stamp or not, but it doesn't matter, especially when that's all that's left. Everything's getting bought up. So we're nearing $100 for PC ETBs. The growth hasn't really been too massive yet. We'd have to have this chart update. You will see that there was a lot of sales right here on February 9th. 24 items, which is definitely the most out of all of these days. You can see not that many selling. 64 right here. 64 sold in the past month, but 24 in one day. So yeah, they saw that these were going out of stock and somebody scooped up a bunch of them. And yeah, so now they're probably going to rise. To what extent, this isn't going to be a Prismatic or a 151 PC ETB, but it is going to, obviously, already exceeding MSRP pretty decently. And if you zoom out, obviously pre-release prices were high, and it kind of came down off of that to 68 was the low on the secondary market, which is, while these were still available on the Pokemon Center, you do have the regular ETBs seeing quite a big jump in the past 3 months. November, these were $30 ETBs up to about $50, just under 50. You can see most recent sales pretty consistent on these last top sales. We're just going to round all these up to 50, right? 50, 50, 50, 50. On the Shrouded Fable ETBs, you can see lowest listed, 50, right? So everyone's right there. They agree it's a $50 box for a regular ETB. If we zoom out on this one too, you can see pre-release back here. We're at pre-release price 50, came back down to the low. That low was pretty much 30, and now we're back up to that price on the regular ETBs. So yeah, people just want, part of it is people just want product to open. Part of it is obviously scalpers want product to flip because everything is in such high demand. People will go for the cheaper product just to have a product to rip. I totally understand it. I'm not dogging anybody who's buying these ETBs at $50 just to have something to rip. Go for it. I'm all about it. Do what you want. But yeah, so that's just the reality of the situation that we're in. It's not really new news, but we also do need to talk about a few of the cards. While some of the cards have recently popped off, like the Persian, and they've retraced, we are seeing some new cards start to pop off, and we'll get to those in a minute on the video. But the Persian's still up almost 200% in the past 3 months. Back here was $22. It did shoot up as high as 78, and it retraced back down into the 60s. This is something that is fairly common, that we used to see a lot more when the market was a little cooler. When we did see a card pop off, it would retrace at least a little bit. It had to cool off for a while, and then if it wants to run, it cools off for a bit, and then it will run more. We saw a good example of that before the craziness, but still popularity, was the 151 Charizard. Last year it did have a big run up. It came back down a little bit, and then it ran, and it came back down, right? That was part of the stair-stepping that the 151 Sunzard did. So you see it a lot of all the time with different cards, but just in this market, things have been so crazy and different. It can be hard to predict anything. But yeah, the Persian looking real good. You can see lowest listed prices. If we want to get to an English copy from a starred seller, you're looking at around 63-ish, which would be a little bit below market. So that might come down a little. Last solds, there is one as high as 85, but 50s, 60s down here for the most part. This is another card that's more expensive. I believe it's playable in the TCG. I'm not super informed with the TCG, so let me know in the comments, is this playable? And what also, as a whole, what are your guys' thoughts on Shrouded now? Has anything changed? Is it kind of the same? Or was it like, and you just pick some up anyways? Let me know. But we're not going to go too in-depth into the Pheasantipity. I just wanted to touch on all the top cards. It's around a $50 card. We're not going to go too crazy into it. Same with this, the Cassiopeia. This is one that I thought could have some potential to move a little. It is already at, nearing $50. But the reason I brought it up was just because of the Sylveon in the background. But maybe it's not prominent enough. Just because there's a Sylveon in the background doesn't mean the card's going to move either. Right? You don't just put a Eevee in the background and be like, oh yeah, it's going to go up. But just with the Prismatic, Evolving Skies, hype, everything going on, mostly Prismatic, but I thought there was maybe a chance. But it is up almost 10% in the past month, 40, almost up to 50. Once again, we're not going to dwell on that card too much. The Duskull is following kind of along the Persian. it shot up recently. It hasn't come down quite as much though, just from 48 down to 47. It's a nice, this is a nice line card, from the Evolutions illustration, telling a little bit of a story. I do think it's kind of funny. But in the past 3 months, from 20, up to in the 40s, 121% growth, 95 copies listed, pretty consistent sales right here in the mid 40s, and lowest listed right now, you're looking at 47 for the Duskull. Now, Houndoom, definitely my favorite card of the set. I do like the Persian, would probably take my second choice, and I would guess that some of the Persian is a speculative Team Rocket There's some hype around that, so that might be amplifying the Persian. But the Houndoom, I do think is a super cool Pokemon that I like a lot. It shot up recently and then retraced. You can see 125% growth. 3 months ago, this was a $20 card. Went up to 54 and it came back down into the 40s. It looks like it's holding there. Most recent sales are upper to mid 40s. You can see obviously some other language lower cards here. Some recently in the 30s, upper 30s. Those seem to be a little bit of the anomaly. If we go off of lowest listed right now, we are looking at upper 40s right here. You can see pretty consistent. So nice to see on the Houndoom that it's going to hold at this price, at least for now. You know, like I said, when a card shoots up, it doesn't always hold after that big volatility. So we'll see where it ends up, or if it continues to run. I don't know, but once again, now with Shrouded selling out on the PCETB, it might be bringing some more attention to it. You know, there's going to be more content creators making, just like myself, making videos on it. It just sold out, right? So it is a popular topic. So we'll see, you know, what that drives towards it, if anything, you know, as a whole. And here we got the Dusknor once again. So you got to go from the Duskull to the Dusknor, and he's creeping at the sliding glass door. This one's up, not as crazy, 26%. You know, it is a $30 illustration rare. From back here, it did come down from 25, 21, and then back up into the 30s. And then it's kind of come off of that a little. Last sold's looks like upper 20s to low 30s fairly consistently, and lowest listed looks like for English around in the low 30s. So that does match current market price. 59 copies available. Now this is a card, the Cresselia. This is one of those cards that really pops, you know, undervalued and underrated a little bit, because like 3 months ago, well, definitely from an art perspective, once again, I don't know the playability of this card. So feel free to correct me in the comments if there is any playability factor for this card. I don't really ever know. You know, I don't know if this Crescent Purge is a good move. Anyways, I don't know the playability factor, but I just know from an art collecting standpoint that this is one of those cards that pops, and it's a nice looking card. A little more unique for the set because it's kind of a dark theme set, and then you got this one that kind of pops. But this one, obviously, price-wise, popped from $7 3 months ago up into the 30s, which is obviously a massive jump. And you can see if we take these out, you can see most recent sales pretty consistent in the 30s, upper 20s, low 30s for the last few sales, and lowest listed's pretty consistent in that lower $30 mark for the Cresselia for near mint copies, but 323% growth. I wonder if we zoom out, if we can see, yeah, it looks like the low point was definitely this little blip right here, 734. Yeah, so pretty massive. The 15 was the high, the pre-release high, and we're doubled the pre-release high on the Cresselia. So that's kind of nice to see. Then you have Zorua, sorry. My throat's still real messed up. Zorua, 164% up in the past 3 months. You know, this one went from 630 to around 20-ish. It's come down a little. It's around 18. Last sold's pretty consistent, 18, 19, 20s, with a few exceptions down here. Nothing crazy. You know, this might have to do with the new set coming out, you know, being featured in the new set. We'll see. I don't know if that's a correlation or not, or just because the set's getting more attention. Once again, let me know your theory on that. Like if you agree, if that vibes or not, or if it's just the set's finally getting a little bit of traction. We have to go to page 2 if we want to get to a starred seller. Lowest listed is 20, which actually is just a tinge above current market. So we'll see if this one holds. Another really underrated card from the set, illustration rare, first gen Pokemon, Horsey. This is a nice looking card, by the way. A lot of these cards, I would say almost all of them, you know, look much better in person. This is one of them for sure. It's up 144% in the past 3 months. We're talking from $10 to $9 up to in the 20s. You know, we're seeing a lot of these undervalued or underappreciated cards that slid under the radar for a while start to uptick. And this one did. We were talking about the shooting up, coming back down, and then shooting up again. And you can kind of see this starting to happen with the horsey right now. Shooting up to, it was 24, came back down. Now, not that big of a dip off, right? It just went down to 23, kind of just for like a few days. And now it's shot back up to 25. So not the biggest like run up in between this, but you can see, you know, the dip off on something like the Houndoom was much more. But you can see like this is kind of a common pattern that happens. And last sold's pretty consistent at market price for the horsey. Nice looking card. Then the Dusclops is the last card of the line here of this illustration rare. It's up 60% in the past 3 months from $15 up to 24. You know, not my favorite art style, but I do think it's kind of just like a silly little fun Halloween creepy themed set or line of evolutionary line, I should say. Lowest listed around 25 for a starred seller, which is pretty much at market. You know, once again, this doesn't do a whole lot for me as a collector, but I do think it would be cool to have all three in your binder, so I get it. It's just not like top tier for me. I'd rather have some of the other cards. Now, this Fracture, this is another card that kind of goes like way against the theme of everything that's happening. Kind of like the Cresselia. It's lighter. It's like not as dark and moody. It's like very chill. He's relaxed. He seems like he's just happy in the waterfall. I would assume with his little family. 160% up. This is just a nice illustration rare, a little cutesy type. It doesn't really fit the set, but another card that, just from an art perspective, right? I don't really have any attachment to this specific Pokemon, pretty much in any way. But this is just nice art that I've come to appreciate. Got a rainbow going down here. So 160% in the past 3 months from a $4 or $5 card up into the 13s. So nothing crazy. It's probably not going to do like big gangbuster numbers. Once again, unless it's playable, I don't know. I never know if it's playable, but you guys feel free to let me know. Lowest listed prices do kind of they line up with market, so it seems like market's accepting where it's at, $13 card. Right? If we zoom out, you know, we're gonna see that that's pretty much been the low. We're coming off of the low in December, 440. Pre-release price high was around $10, and then the last card we're gonna talk about that is shooting up, and this is one of those cards where if you don't like this Pokemon at all, which once again I'm not a fan of this Pokemon, but this card does look nice with the coloring that they chose. I don't like Monkey Dory, but you know, you replace this with a different Pokemon, this would have been like probably a pretty nice card, in my opinion. Now I'm sure there's Monkey Dory fans out there, but 50% growth. So we're seeing a lot. The summary is we're seeing a lot of growth on a lot of cards from the set, and it makes sense at this point. There's been so much demand, so much increased attention just on Pokemon in general, that the set that was regarded as the worst set of the era, the trashiest set, whatever you want to call it, the meh set, a lot of people liked it. It's not like it didn't have fans, but it's seeing movement and it makes sense. Also, you know, being one of the only products that was on shelves for a while and one of the last PCETBs available, it does make sense. And now people are opening it because it was one of the cheapest products, right? So it does make some sense that it's finally at least getting some movement. To what extent this movement is going to be, you know, that is the real question, right? And how long will it be and where will it end up, right? Specifically talking mostly about the PC ETBs, but also even just the regular product in general, like regular ETBs. You know, so this card went from 10 to 16, but to end it off there, with the Pokemon Company recently announcing that, you know, obviously PC ETBs, you know, not really a thing that gets reprinted, but this set as a whole, let's just, for the sake of the video, we'll call it for sure the worst set. Just to make it easier. Where will this worst set be? Assuming that you got maybe some at MSRP, some below MSRP, because these were available below PC ETBs at, but some of the regular ETBs, like you said, you could pick some up for $30. Where will this be in a year or two? If this bull market continues, Pokemon wants to reprint the in-demand sets, the more popular sets. So Shrouded ain't gonna get nothing, right? Which makes sense. It shouldn't really get reprinted. But will that continue to drive at least the sealed side? Will it continue to rise? Those are the questions I ask. Like, where could it end up? Where do you guys think that some of the PC ETB, the regular ETB, will end up if we continue in this market? Because I do think that there's a big chance that this market continues. The strength, we're just steamrolling into these next sets. You got the Switch 2 coming out, a new Pokemon game. Then next year, 30th anniversary. There's just like a lot that could like keep this potentially going. And I don't, this and other sets too, right? I'm not just talking about Shrouded Fable, but these other sets that don't get reprinted because they can't. They're putting whatever extra printing capabilities they have into like Prismatic, possibly 151. Some of the other sets that need the reprints maybe more. Sets aren't going to get reprinted, so like where do those end up? There's always that set or two that like didn't really get printed very much, wasn't very good. There's not that much, and then like slowly over time they rise. So is Shrouded Fable going to be one of those? That's the question I ask to you guys. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. I'll catch you in the next one. I think that's all I got for you guys. I'm starting to feel better. I think my fever and stuff hopefully should be gone. It's been like 5 days of being sick now for me, or 4.5 to 5, with like the fever, the aching everywhere, my head hurt. Obviously now it's just like throat, real bad. So yeah, I'm trying to push through these videos for you. It's hard when you do daily because I got to wake up and do a video every day. But yeah, so anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, it was never a phase.